Okay, welcome to another NDF Interview 2013. With me I have the young drummer who's literally just come off the stage at the 12 o'clock slot, John Hurst. Welcome and thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Just tell everyone who doesn't know about you why you got to play at the National Drum Fair.
Well, it was because I won a prize at Birmingham Conservatoire. I won the Tony Levin Drum Prize, which they hold every year, and as a result, head of course Jeremy Price and Gary, who runs the festival, invited me to come play.
Brilliant, excellent. So what year are you in at college at the moment?
I've actually just graduated. Just in my final exam was in June 7th. So I've just finished this year.
So you're a non-student anymore?
Yes, I'm in the real world.
Fantastic. So is this your first time at the NDF?
It is actually, yes. I had the best intentions to come last year, but I think I was actually I was working, I was playing, so I was working.
Gigs a gig?
Exactly, yes. So I wasn't able to, but yeah, really enjoyed it.
Great. So what's the best thing do you reckon about the NDF then?
Probably. Well, actually, I've met a couple of people, re-met a couple of people that I haven't seen for quite a long time. It's quite a nice community. Nice community spirit here, and it's well, just to what's the word? Just to kind of interest my inner geek, I suppose. There's lots of things to look at, and
you're allowed to do it here.
I haven't heard of. Exactly, yeah. And everyone is unashamedly doing it.
Great. So what's the best thing you've seen here?
The best thing I've seen is probably well, the two things that I really like. I've been spending a little bit of time looking at the drums made by a company called Guru, who make lovely kind of solid shell wooden drums in various constructions, and they sound absolutely beautiful. And probably a very specific, it's a 20-inch crush cymbal made by a company called Immediate Cymbals.
Yeah.
I think I'm pronouncing it correctly.
That's right.
Which is also very, very beautiful from their vintage range. So I'm probably going to go back in after this and find something else, but as of this interview, those are my two favourites.
Great. So do you have any vintage or custom gear?
No, not really. Actually, I suppose this does count as vintage because I saw some of them being exhibited out there. I recently got a 1971 Ludwig Acrolite. Yes. Which I guess counts, and I am interested in also getting Superphonic. I've been looking at a few of those as well because they're coveted and very nice.
Great. What do you think the NDF brings to its audience?
I think that it is, well, as I say, apart from giving everyone a chance to not my favourite expression, but to geek out a little bit over all the stuff that's here, I think it's an opportunity for people to, well, it's some of it I think is an alternative to, not that there's anything, I'm not saying anything against any of the kind of major drum or cymbal companies, but I think part of it is an opportunity for people to find, like me, like in some of the companies like Immediate and Guru that I mentioned, just to find other companies that are offering products that they may not have heard of, or companies that they haven't heard of. I think that's one thing, and also obviously the clinics, which I was fortunate to be part of. I think it's an educational experience, so it's nice that they incorporated that into the festival as well. So really, it's I think it's an opportunity to try things and see new bits of equipment, and also it's got an educational slant as well, which I think is great.
Great.
Nice,
so, because it was your first year, was the NDF everything you expected it to be?
It was. I mean, I expected to enjoy it, but I think actually I've enjoyed it more than I thought I would. Just because, well, my initial concern to be honest, in recent times I haven't actually gone to that many drum shows because I always get pretty excited about them and then go, and then I can only stay there for about a couple of hours just because of the sheer volume of everything. But this hasn't been overwhelming at all. It's quite nice. So I've been able to wander around and remain pretty calm throughout the day. So which is lovely, which I didn't expect to happen. And yeah, of course, everyone's friendly and gets on because everyone has a shared interest. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
Good. What are you playing on at the moment?
I'm currently using a few different things. I'm currently actually involved with Mapex drums and Presley cymbals. So the kit that I used today was a I believe it's the only kit that Apex do that has an 18-inch bass drum, which I felt would be appropriate for what I was doing today. And it's a Club Classic, Apex Club Classic. I also have, and the snare drum was a Black Widow from their Black Panther range, which is very nice, standard size. I also have a, terrible with names of range and stuff. I also have a Meridian, I believe it is, which is their kind of mid-range kit, which I really like, which is birch, so it's quite bright. And that's, I use that for slightly louder gigs where there's a little bit more, well, shall we say, less interaction is necessary and less dynamic variation is required. So generally I split what I do between those two.
That's right. Who was your inspiration?
Oh, first one ever was John Bonham, I think, and because I basically couldn't, well, the way I normally explain it is I couldn't really believe what I was hearing when I heard it for the first time, and if you got someone now, I still wouldn't really be able to believe what I was hearing. So I think he's kind of just to continue, you know, that's going to continue for as long as I, yeah, indefinitely. But in jazz terms, my first jazz influence was Tony Williams, I think, and that was quite eye-opening because I realised that it was okay to play jazz really loudly at that point. Not that he couldn't play quietly, but I just realised that you could harness the power that someone like John Bonham had, for example, and put it in a different musical kind of situation. And then from that, I suppose it led on to Tony Williams. Sorry, I've already said him. Sorry, Elvin Jones, and then Philly Joe Jones from there. At the moment, I'm just trying to listen to and transcribe as much stuff as possible. I have some, as I said, some Elvin Jones, some Bill Stewart, a little bit more modern, and Philly Joe Jones as well. And basically anyone, my friend put it quite well when being asked who his influences were. He just said, for good or bad, basically anyone that he's ever heard who's been recorded in the last 80 years or so, because some people make you think, oh yes, I definitely want to do that. Some people kind of show you that, you know, you really don't want to do that. But so everyone that I've ever heard, kind of, but John Bonham was the first one, and then Tony Williams was for jazz.
Great. If you had to relive one gig or event that you did, what would it be?
Oh, wow, okay. It would probably be quite recently, actually, because I mean, I guess I've done a reasonable amount, and even possibly some of the more memorable ones I can't remember. But one in particular is relatively fresh in my mind because it's quite recent. It was it was actually the Tony Levin drum prize thing, because I just generally I get kind of, as a lot of people do, I'm sure, quite nervous before playing, before, you know, in performances. But then, unlike the experiences of some people, I think it doesn't really seem to go away very easily. Even when I'm playing, I'm still quite analytical about what I'm doing, and I still quite have to think, you know, want to think kind of carefully about what I'm doing. But in that case, a lot of things just seem to conspire to make it really enjoyable. The acoustic in the room that we were playing in was very nice. I was actually, nothing against my own drums, of course they're lovely, but I was playing on someone else's, which I really liked, and he had cymbals that I really got on with as well. And yeah, I don't know. I suppose it's kind of easy to say this, but it was just one of those occasions where I would kind of, I felt like I could, I don't know, I was just trying stuff and it was working, which certainly doesn't always happen. But that was, yeah, I remember that.
Good. If you had a time machine, which era of music or drumming would you actually go back to?
I would go... Can I say that I would go forward into the future? Can I say that? Is that allowed?
I suppose it's a time machine.
Oh, well, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. It's, yeah. I mean, yeah. I suppose, yeah. It doesn't. The automatic assumption is that it will go backwards. Yeah. But I would probably go. Yeah. I couldn't really say how far, but I often do think that even, you know, I get kind of overwhelmed about thinking, you know, even with the kind of conscious effort that I'm making, the amount of music that currently exists that I will never hear, any bit of which might change my life, you know, for the better. And I sometimes kind of think, you know, I'm only going to hear a tiny kind of part of, you know, what exists. So either it's very difficult for me to say. If I had to go back, my main reason for going back would be because music in general had it wasn't as ubiquitous. You know, you wouldn't go. It wouldn't be on in a lift, for example, because you know, they didn't have them. Depending on when I was in history, and so yeah, I think because now music is relatively very easy to make and it's less of an event. I think I like the idea that it was still a real special occasion and a primary source of entertainment, and also but as I say, the reason I said that I would possibly go into the future is because I just out of interest to see what was happening and you know, other things that I could take, and you know, then of course I could come back and everyone would be like, oh, where did you get that from? And, you know, it's my secret.
Especially the transformation as well of all playing and technique and so where you don't know where it's going to go.
Exactly, yes. So and so my main interest is to find out where it's going to go, and you know, in 100 years, in I don't know, 1,000 years, whatever, whether music's still around, I don't know. But yeah, apologies, it's very difficult for me to pick.
That's fine, no, good, no, it's just you. Last question, you've got 4 guests you can invite to a dinner party.
Okay.
Dead or alive.
Right.
They can be drummers or non-drummers.
Right.
Who would they be?
Oh, wow, okay. Well, off the top of my head, I'm going to have to say John Bonham because I've already mentioned him.
Yeah.
I would. I think I would probably invite. Mozart, because just to find out whether everything that he said about him is actually true. I would give him, 20 minutes and see if he could, see if he could write a symphony. I would probably also invite. I would invite my girlfriend. I'd invite my partner because that would be nice.
Brownie points.
Exactly. Yes. And also, how many is that? 3.
That's 3.
Oh wow. Okay. I would also invite. I'll just stick to drums. I'll invite Elvin Jones. I'll invite him along as well. Yeah, just because. He seemed to have such a unique way of doing things that. Just in an attempt to find out what he was thinking about, I guess.
Good guess, good guess.
And I'm sure he'd get on very well with my girlfriend, so he's a lovely man, as I understand. So, yeah.
Great. Well, John, it's a privilege having you here, and it's been an absolute pleasure to interview you.
You're welcome.
Thank you ever so much.
No problem.
And we'll see you again on another NDF interview.
Thank you.